welcome to one of those days where I filmed the day before because I'm not sure if I'll be home the next day at all. What happened today? Let's see. I began the morning with a wonderful class of American Studies, which has a great teacher who's great. I've told you about him. He's cool. Nothing interesting happened. I continued on to the next class, which was I need my fairy lights on. 1 sec. I continued on to my next class, which was Health 2, and we're gonna have our first test in the class, and so he gave us all the test answers. Well, the substitute did, but in the form of games. So I wrote them all down, but I'm pretty worried because they're all really specific things, and it's like weird for our first test. The next class was lunch, which was uneventful, as usual. Next was acting, in which I did my monologue, which I may or may not have already told you about, which is Men and Cars. And I did that, and it was really short. I wish I would have chosen a longer one, but I was like, well, I thought like this was the proper length, but then it wasn't. But there was one other person there was like a couple of people who also had short ones or shorter ones. That made me feel slightly better, but I was still like, I think I did okay. I mean, I'm not exactly aiming to do well in this class, like, by my own terms. So I guess I'm working to get an A in the class, not for myself. Honestly, do I care that much? No, not really. Next was study hall. Not interesting. Okay, here's the dealio. Yesterday, I was supposed to have the Oaks test, which I was like super duper freaked out before, and like the 2 days before that, I thought we were gonna have it that day, and I was really freaked out about it. And then when the actual test day came, I was like really freaked out about it. I was super freaked out when we go to the place to do the Oaks test, and the woman reminds us how if we fail this year, we'll have to take it next year when the test will change and not be multiple choice and be significantly harder, and they don't know anything about it and how to prepare us for it, so we better pass today. Which freaked me out even more. Even though I already knew those things, she told them so scarily. And then we start the test, and I get like 2 questions in, and I'm just like stressed out, so I had to solve for like a 4th angle, and it took me a really long time because I was like, oh no, and about half of the classes, computers just couldn't do the test, so eventually she's like, well, just go back to your class, we'll reschedule. I had many mixed feelings of the fact that I didn't want to take it another day. I didn't want to have another day or another week of like stressing out about it, and yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I guess it was not good to not take it then, but like, in Lit and Comp, we're doing a bunch of like reading circles and reading different things, which has been frustrating, half because like my group always wants to read things aloud, but lately we haven't been because the stories have been longer, so I'm like, I'm not reading this aloud, goodbye. But one of the most recent stories we read was Waters of Babylon, or Babylon, or blah 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 blah, but we read that. I mean, I guess you know it. If not, it's the one where he's like, wow, I'm a forest person. Wow, God people. Not supposed to go to the God's land. That's across the river. I'm gonna go to the river because I feel as if I need to know what's over there. And when he goes over there, he's like, the God's land is all like much broken down than he expected, and it talks about things we have now, and it turns out it was like New York, and it's after the fall of humanity, and that. So that got me thinking, of course, because I'm always ready to think about the fall of humanity. So yeah, one day humanity will fall. Will we have these empty, run-down buildings to leave, or will it all be eradicated? I don't know. Will it be like the dinosaurs? I don't know. Maybe the dinosaurs were just like us in the fact they had a really, really, not educated, like, high society. You know, high and mighty society. Maybe they had that too, but they got completely eradicated and all the evidence was eradicated. What if that happens to us? What if it was the same? What if no one will ever know that this is a never-ending pattern? Because one day those forest people will become just as, like, educated and high up and knowledgeable as those, and it's just repeating the same thing until, like, this one thing gets found out and then pooh! You never know. So on the same topic of fall of humanity, let's talk about me. Fall of me. Specimen who at this point in time doesn't really mean anything in the universe. Let's talk about the fall of that! Oh no, a spider! Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Wait, no. Fuck. Is that an ant? I either saw a spider or an ant and I just killed it, and I really hope it's not an ant. That would suck. Anyway, so I like to write journal entries with the thought of later in life it'll be nice to read them, and also just like other little things that I have, like usually for pictures, it's to look at them later in life. It's memories, making memories that I will remember, like looking back and be like, oh yes, I remember December 22nd, 2014, it was great, I sat. Good thing I can recall that, you know? But And sometimes I also like to think that maybe in some point in history those pictures or files will be like recovered and be like, wow, look at this, look into life in 2014. Wasn't it so different 500 years ago? But then I realized that there are a lot of journal entries from the last how many ever years we've been. Like a ridiculous amount. And most of them, well, they're not important. Some of them might be used for historic reasons because they talk about things that are happening then, that are happening to them, that they were involved in, like slavery. Maybe a slave who could read and write, like their thing, their look on what was happening in the current society that they were in. That's important, but is like a 15-year-old girl, that's not as much as important. So that's weird to think about. Sometimes. Does that make sense? It might make sense. I'm not sure. My camera's dying. I think I always get back to the idea that everything is going to end eventually, so even if I do make all these journal entries, they will be lost someday. Despite the fact that my life probably will not be taught in 500 years later in classes, it's still really cool to think about how in like 50 years I'll be like, look at it and be like, ah, I remember that, which is cool. However, there could be like a huge thing in which I get really famous and then my journal entries will mean a lot. Let's hope for that, Anna. Let's hope for that. I've been talking really quickly because when I'm home alone I get to talk quickly and loudly. Anyway, Anna, my camera's flashing really quickly now. It's right there, but you can't see it. Anyway, so I'm gonna say goodbye. I hope you didn't say anything I have to respond to in your video, because I'm probably out doing something. If there is, I'll put it in the description. Happy Friday! Happy Friday! TGIF. I'll see you on Monday, Anna. Well, I'll see you later today, but I'll see you on Monday, Anna.